from Missouri, we've got the great Eric Schmidt, I believe the tallest Republican United States Senator. Where's Eric? Also thrilled to have Ambassador Carla Sands here. Carla, thanks so much for being here. Let me just talk a little bit about what this election is all about and what's at stake here. Because unless we start making some better decisions, we are going to take the greatest opportunities that God could give any nation. We've got the best people, we've got the best workers, we've got the best natural resources, and the most beautiful country anywhere in the world. America is ready to be unleashed. But to do that, we've got to kick out Kamala Harris and bring back Donald J. Trump. Now, we are here, of course, in a great facility, Dysor, but I'm going to call on the leader of this great company here at the end. And what I'll do here is give a little bit of a background on why we're here in North Philly, and then I'll take a few questions from reporters, and then I'd love to bring up a couple of local business leaders to sort of bring it home and talk about why we care about these things that we care about. But look, we have a country that is being failed by its present leadership. And don't let anybody gaslight you here, because Kamala Harris is running around the country and saying that on day one, she wants to bring the cost of goods and the cost of housing under control. She says that on day one, she wants to make groceries and homes more affordable for American citizens. Well, Kamala Harris, where have you been? Because you've been vice president for about 1,300 days. Day one was 3.5 years ago. You should have been doing your job then and not promising to do it now. Let's just take stock of the economic record of Kamala Harris. Electricity is up 30%. Food, that's right, food is up more than 20%. Gasoline is up 50%. And this is all because of the policies of Kamala Harris. This is the person who's promising that she's going to fix the very problems that she has been creating for 1,300 days. And now she wants the American people to give her a promotion. My friends, I think it's time for the American people to say to Kamala Harris, you are fired. We want Donald J. Trump. Now, the other thing that I find interesting about Kamala Harris's campaign is that even though 99% of the mainstream media is in the tank for her, right? I mean, look, remember, these are the same group of people that told us for 3.5 years that Joe Biden, who couldn't complete a sentence, was Albert Einstein. Now they want us to believe that Kamala Harris is Abraham Lincoln. You see the completely dishonest coverage. But even despite that, Kamala Harris is running from them. And I think a little bit like a campaign really is an extended job interview with the American people, right? So this is a person who is asking you, the American people, for a promotion to President of the United States, but she refuses to sit down for an interview, even with the extremely friendly media. Now, is that a person that we should reward with a promotion? No, I don't think that it is. And I think that if you're terrified to sit in front of completely sympathetic, biased media, then how can the American people ever trust you to sit in a room with Vladimir Putin or Xi Jinping or the leaders of the world that the president has to deal with? Now, let's just take stock. Let's take stock of the Trump record, not just the vision, because Donald Trump isn't just going out there making promises about what he wants to do. My friends, he already did it. And didn't we have a hell of an economy when Donald Trump was president? Here's what we're going to do. We are, first of all, going to unleash Pennsylvania energy workers. We are going to drill, baby, drill. We're going to stop buying energy from tin-pot dictators all over the world who hate this country. We're going to start buying it from our own land, from our own people, from our own workers, and that's going to start on day one of the Trump presidency. And when we do that, my friends, we're going to bring down energy costs, not just for American families and American consumers. We're going to bring it down for American manufacturers and American businesses like Dysor, where we're sitting right now. Now, these guys, these guys, I mean, Kamala Harris talks about how she wants to stand for the little guy, and yet her energy policies have driven up the cost of energy and food for everyday citizens. She says that she wants to bring American manufacturing back to this country. Well, Kamala, if you really, really want to bring American manufacturing back to this country, might I suggest you vote for Donald J. Trump. Get out of this race and bring back a president who knows how to do it. Remember, when Trump was president, when he became president for 16 years, this country had lost 60,000 factories. That was the record before he became president. He becomes president over 4 years, we had 12,000 factories. Undid a lot of the damage, and he's going to undo a lot more of it if we give him another 4-year term. Are we going to do that? Absolutely we are. We have got to stop the Chinese and everybody else from undercutting the wages of American workers. If you want access to American markets, you ought to deal fairly with the American working people, union and non-union alike. We are going to stop the Chinese from building their middle class on the back of the American middle class, aren't we? We're going to unleash American energy, which drives down the cost of manufacturing. It also makes it possible for a lot of poor families to heat their home this winter. The thing that bothers me so much about Kamala Harris's policies is that real people suffer when she refuses to do her job. Real people. Ladies and gentlemen, I grew up in a poor family. I remember talking with my mamaw during very cold winter nights about how low could we turn the heater and still be able to live comfortably in our house that night. That's the conversation that American families have every single day when you have a vice president like Kamala Harris who's raising energy prices instead of lowering energy prices. It is a disgrace. I think whether you're rich or poor, if you work hard and play by the rules in this country, you ought to be able to afford to heat your home on a cold winter night. Ain't that right? I think if you work hard and play by the rules, whether you went to college or didn't go to college, you ought to be able to work in a job that respects your dignity and pays you a good wage. And I believe whether you're the owner of a company like Dysorb or a worker in a company like this, you ought to have a president who stands up for your business and your job instead of a vice president, Kamala Harris, who's been trying to tear all that stuff down. So here is the Trump plan. Again, it's very simple, and it's not just a plan because he already did it. Number one, we are going to stop the reckless spending that you've seen from the Kamala Harris administration, give more Americans more of their hard-earned money, and stop this affordability crisis. We are going to cancel these ridiculous regulations that make it hard to manufacture and build things in the United States of America. Just today, I read about a power plant regulation coming from the Kamala Harris administration that would shut down a ton of American power plants. Who's going to benefit from that? The Chinese. Now, they say they care about our environment, but if you're manufacturing more and more in China, the dirtiest economy in the world, you're not benefiting the environment, you're not benefiting American workers, you're maybe benefiting Kamala Harris's donors, but you're not benefiting the American people. We're going to unleash American energy, make this country energy dominant again. Donald Trump already did it. We're just going to do it one more time. Now, I want to bring the press up here to take a few questions, but before I do that, I just want to offer a few observations and a few remarks on the state of this campaign. Number one, I already said this, but I'm going to repeat it for our friends in the back. It is disgraceful that Kamala Harris pretends to run for the presidency of the United States, but she refuses to stand before the American people without a teleprompter standing between them. Kamala, what are you so afraid of? The American people are good and kind, even if they don't like your politics. Why don't you get out and talk to them? If you want to be the people's president, you ought to be willing to stand before the people and answer a few tough questions. I don't think that's too much to ask, is it? Now, speaking of, she has got quite the running mate, this guy, Tim Walz, who... Tim Walz, I swear, before the end of the campaign, Tim Walz is going to be talking about how he was carrying an M16 through the jungles of Vietnam. But this guy, everything that comes out of his mouth about his military service is at least 25% a lie. And it occurred to me, the closest Tim Walz has ever come to combat, even though he says he carried a weapon in war, the closest Tim Walz has ever come to combat is when he let rioters burn Minneapolis to the ground a few years ago, right? But he acts like such a tough guy, my friends. I don't know if you saw this, but Tim Walz said that he would debate me anytime, anywhere. So he threw out October 1st, a debate moderated by CBS, which I'm sure is going to be in the tank for the Democrats, but who cares? Because I respect the American people to go before hostile media. But when he says he'll debate anytime, anywhere, he apparently didn't mean in mid-September, because I offered him a debate in front of CNN, not exactly friends of me and Donald Trump. And you know what Tim Walz said? No thanks. Because they are hiding from the American people. My message to Kamala and Tim Walz, but especially to the American people, is the American people deserve to be led by somebody who is willing to get out there and talk to people. Kamala and Tim, stop hiding in the basement, get out there and campaign. We'd all appreciate it quite a bit. Now, like I said, I'm going to bring up a couple of these great business leaders, but before we do, I'd like to answer some questions from primarily local Philadelphia press. We've got to get out of here and go get a cheesesteak. We're going to go get a cheesesteak after this, right? We are in Philly. But any recommendations? Okay, all right, okay. Steve's has got some partisans over here, but let me say. Let me ask the local media here, if you're from the local media, raise your hand first, and then I'd like to answer a few of your questions, and if we got time afterwards, we'll get to the national folks. It's very bright, so it's hard to see all, but ma'am, I believe in a black shirt. Yes. Here we go.
Rosemary Connors from NBC Philadelphia. Senator Vance, what's your message to Pennsylvania voters on abortion? Has your opinion changed? Do you think there should be a national ban? Or should it be left up to the states?
Look, it's okay. It's all right. It's all right. Look, first of all, I think it's important to be honest about what Donald Trump and I are focused on here. And what Donald Trump and I are focused on is making the American dream affordable again for Pennsylvania families. That is what we're focused on. Look, on the abortion question in particular, what President Trump has said has been very direct. And I think honestly, he's tried to find some common ground in this country that has been divided by this question for 50 years. He said, look, Pennsylvania is going to want to have a different abortion policy from Ohio, which is going to want to have a different policy from California. Let the states decide. Let the people in those states decide. And I think it's important to point out just how different Donald Trump's common sense approach is from our opposition. Because these guys are talking about taxpayer-funded abortions up until the moment of birth. That is sick stuff. Whether you're pro-choice or pro-life, I think we can all agree that we do not need to have American taxpayers paying for abortion at 33 weeks of pregnancy. It's gross. And the final point that I'd say on this is President Trump and I believe very, very deeply that we want Americans to feel like they can afford to have families again. The biggest problem that we have in this country, you talk to young women who have a pregnancy, especially an unexpected pregnancy, and a lot of them feel like they don't have options because how are you going to feed a baby in today's economy? How are you going to house a baby with rent where they are? We want to make American family life affordable again, and I think that's the best way to promote a culture of life in this country. Thank you all. Again, local PA reporters first, ma'am.
Hi there, Aaliyah Schneider, the Philly Inquirer. How often can we expect you to be in Pennsylvania, and where are you getting your cheesesteak and why?
Well, I'm going to be in Pennsylvania as much as you find people will have me. How does that sound, all right? Look, Pennsylvania is an incredibly important state to me and President Trump. It is a state with a proud energy tradition, a proud manufacturing tradition. We believe that if we make more stuff in America, Pennsylvania workers and Pennsylvania families are going to benefit. So we're going to be here a lot, taking our message to the whole state, because who wants to make more stuff in the United States of America? Who wants to build more factories in the United States of America? Who wants to rely on American workers and not on Chinese workers right here in the state of Pennsylvania? This is a very, very important state for us. Ladies right here.
JD, Linda Stein, Delaware Valley Journal. What is your position and President Trump's position on Israel and the Gaza war?
Well, look, our position is pretty simple. It's that the best thing for Israel and the best thing for the United States is for this war to be over as quickly as possible and for Hamas to be destroyed in the process. And Linda, what I don't understand is you have Kamala Harris who says that she's really concerned about civilian casualties. Well, I'm very concerned about civilian casualties too. But if you're concerned about civilian casualties, you want the war to be over as quickly as possible and you want to destroy Hamas's ability to fight. She's pursuing policies that are doing exactly the opposite. Prolonging the war as long as possible and not allowing Israel to finish the job against Hamas. It's the worst of all possible worlds. Donald Trump is going to return strength to the American foreign policy scene. And just one more observation about this. This is especially to anybody watching who is skeptical of Donald Trump, who remembers when the American media said that Donald Trump was going to start a nuclear war. Did anybody notice that the country and the world were at greater peace under the presidency of Donald Trump than anybody, Democrat or Republican, who came before? It's kind of amazing, actually, because I remember when all of you, meaning the media, all the media said that this guy was going to start World War III. We are on the brink of World War III thanks to Kamala Harris's leadership. We got to get strong American leadership back in there to bring a little bit of calm back to the world. Pennsylvania? I love this. Who is this guy? We need to bring him on the plane with us.
Senator,
yes,
on
sir.
July 21st, Donald Trump was ahead of Joe Biden by 4.5% in an average of polls in Pennsylvania. Today, it's a statistical tie between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. One, do you believe the polls? And two, if you do, how do you get that ground back?
Well, look, I don't believe the polls when they say that we're up. I don't believe the polls that say that we're tied. I don't believe the polls that say that we're down. Our job is to win the trust of the American voters, not public opinion polls. I think, look, what I think, and I saw this in my own race for the Senate, I remember when all the public opinion polls in August said that I was going to lose my race for the United States Senate, and then I won in a pretty convincing fashion just a couple of months later. I believe that the media puts out these polls knowing that it's going to depress turnout and it's going to make the conversation about the polls. Who cares what the polls say, whether they say we're up or we're down? What I care about is that Americans can't afford groceries. That's why we're running, and that's the problem that we're going to fix. And that's why Donald Trump, I believe, is going to win the state of Pennsylvania. He's going to win the whole country. PA?
John Cole, Pennsylvania Capital Star, based in Philadelphia. As you talk about the economy, what does the Trump-Vance ticket believe the federal minimum wage should be if Trump gets a second term would he support raising it, or should it stay the same? And is there a specific number that he would support it at?
Well, look, President Trump believes very strongly that the best way to promote raising Americans' wages is with tight labor markets. When an employer has got to pay a good wage to attract the right people, and you know the way that you destroy, whether you have a higher minimum wage or a lower minimum wage, the way to destroy the wages of American workers is to import 20 million illegal aliens and let them stay here with work visas. Kamala Harris's entire economic approach is to pursue policies that destroy the wages of workers, that raise the cost of goods, and then to say, well, don't remember that I've been vice president for 1,300 days, but when I get out there somehow, I'm going to wave my magic wand and fix all the problems that I caused. Nobody believes that Kamala Harris can do that. And why do we have? I'll tell you, y'all may not pay as close attention to this as I do, but when you look at, there's this chart out there, and it tracks the wages of American workers against the size of government and corporate profits. And what was happening is that for a very long time, corporate profits were doing just fine, and government was getting bigger and bigger. But you know who was really struggling? The wages of American workers. And then there's this thing that happens where the wages of American workers sort of shoot straight up. And you know what happened? Was Donald J. Trump became president. Because when you have companies that have to hire American and have to buy American, that lifts up all American workers. I don't care if you set if you set the federal minimum wage, whatever you want to set it at, call it $30 an hour, and you let in 25 million illegal aliens, nobody is going to make $30 an hour because the illegal aliens are going to undercut the wages of American workers. You want to raise wages, build more in America, buy more in America, and send the illegal aliens home, and that's exactly what Donald Trump and I are going to do. I'll take one more question, and then I'd like to bring up a couple business leaders. Ma'am, maybe right here in the front.
Nikki Dementri with CBS Philadelphia. Senator Vance, you've been in Philadelphia twice in about 2 weeks. This is a city, though, that is run by the Democratic Party, has been for quite a while. Why do you feel this city is so important for the campaign, and can you win it come November?
I think we absolutely can win it. We're going to win the whole state of Pennsylvania and Philadelphia. Look, I'd ask voters in Philadelphia and across the whole state a very simple question. Has your life been better off under Democrat leadership? Have your communities gotten safer under Democrat leadership? Have your wages kept up with affordability under Democrat leadership? And because the answer is no, I think that Americans, Pennsylvanians, and the citizens of this city are ready for a change. They're ready for the presidency of Donald J. Trump. All righty. Now on the topic of Americans being ready for a change, I want to call up a couple business leaders who have built great businesses right here in Philadelphia. And I want to start with the leader of Dysorb, where of course we're sitting right now. Ted, come on up here. Give a round of applause for Ted.
Thank you very much, Senator Vance, future Vice President Vance. It's an honor to have you here with us today. I got to tell you quite honestly, I didn't know a lot about Senator Vance until he was nominated for Vice President. I've come to learn quite a bit, and I'm beyond impressed. He's the guy we need, along with Donald J. Trump, to lead this country the next 4 years. On a personal note, because we're both former enlisted military, I thought I was doing okay myself, but this guy here is blowing me away. So it's very impressive, sir. Thank you again for coming.
Ted, I appreciate the kind words and appreciate this great company that you built. I now want to call up, and Sam, don't be mad at me if I screw up your last name here, but Sam Theavanayagam. I got it? Okay. I hear people just call him Sam T. So Sam T, come up here and say a few words. Give a round of applause for Sam T.
I said to you earlier that what separates me and Senator Vance was butter chicken. Because his wife is vegetarian and of Indian descent. I am of Indian descent. So Senator Vance actually split the script by doing exactly opposite to what I did. But it's interesting that in the last 4 years, I serve as a defense contractor. In the last 4 years, there has been a huge erosion of the Department of Defense, the defense industrial base that actually supports the DoD. And that is a huge issue. With peer threats like China and Russia, we're going to have a huge problem at our hands, and manufacturing is the way forward. Workforce development and making sure that we are investing in our people so that we can increase capability, increase capacity, increase competency, and oh, by the way, we will be confident doing that. The two words that separate me and him was butter chicken. By the end of the year, that it'll be down to 2 letters, VP. All the best, sir.
All right. And said it better than I could. On that note, thank you all. God bless you. Let's go elect Donald J. Trump in November. Thank you for having us.